Welcome back for another episode of the Vitamin C's podcast, part of the CLNS Media Network. I am joined by Adam Taylor and Wayne Breezie Brown, the usual suspects. Just plugging our sponsor as well, FanDuel. It is the #1 sports book in America and the official sportsbook partner of the CLNS Media Network. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Yo, what's popping, man? Yo, Wayne, what's going on, man? What's going on, my God?
I'm always smiling, guys. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. There's a smile on my face, but I can't wait to break down of what we witnessed on last night.
It's the breakdown of the breakdown, right? One of those ugly games. Again, a team that they should have beat. Kind of felt similar to what the Nuggets did against the Spurs. So one of those games where you go against a team that's clearly tanking. Houston Rockets, you lose a close one. I believe final score was 111-109. Missed layup attempt by Jason Tatum at the buzzer. Jaylen Brown has a fantastic game, 43 points. But again, another really low shooting night for the team as a whole from 3-point range. What are your immediate takeaways from this game? Because it feels like we talked about this the other day, Wayne, but just like up and down, like you can't get a consistent effort. You really don't know what team you're going to get on a given night, and that's kind of scary as this team gets really, really close to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for consistency, and it's awkward because a team that you should dominate. I mean, we were their 16th win of the season. So a team you feel like you should go in and dominate. But I keep telling you every single time, bro, it's like whenever we got to play one of them young, energetic, fast, scrappy teams that aren't playing for anything in their lives, like they come out and they punch us straight in the mouth. And I think the Celtics get punched in the mouth and they don't really know how to respond. It's like a fight. You're going to get punched in the mouth. And do we fight back? Of course. But sometimes that first punch, it doesn't knock you out, but it makes you wear and tear throughout the rest of the fight. And it looks like, when they were playing the Houston Rockets last evening, they just couldn't figure out how to counter. I mean, they came close. They pulled it back. And, I feel like the Celtics just revert to some of their old ways. Like, a lot of ISO basketball, a lot of mental breakdowns, a lot of turnovers. and it's harder to respond. The first time all season, Adam and Tim, I can't blame the refs. I think this is one of the first games. I'm not going to mention the referees, the NBA officials. What the heck? So it was just weird. I'm frustrated, and I'm sure the Celtic players are frustrated. I'm sure Coach Mazzulla was frustrated. He looked frustrated. He was cursing out somebody last night. But they got to figure it out. They got to tighten it up. And if Mazzulla needs to shorten this rotation and perhaps not play certain players because 15 more games, 14 more games, we're headed into the playoffs. Got to do what you got to do. I'd rather see those specific guys. What was Al? I know I'm rambling on, but what was Al Horford's stat sheet? Did he have more than 3 points? I'm that can't happen.
I've got it up right here from last night. I usually try and keep the stat sheet up just because I try and get some writing done during the day. But no, he finished with 2 points. He was 1 of 3 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal by the looks of it. And that was over about 31 minutes. So rough night for him.
I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying you got to find a way to get him to be another scorer from your starting unit. And you look at your starting unit, it was what? It was JB, it was Jason Tatum, and then who's that third scorer from your starting unit? I think it was Derek White. And I don't even know if he started. I'm just saying it's super awkward. Brogdon came in and did what he was supposed to do off the bench. Grant Williams, just they played well without him last game, and then this game they kind of stuttered. And I don't want to blame him either. I just don't know why they can't figure out how to be consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot wrong with this team right now, right? So look, the one thing with the Rockets, and I've seen the Rockets are a team I've watched play quite a lot this season because I like the younger teams. I like watching these guys develop. Their guards are quick, and they're exceptionally good at breaking you down off the dribble. Jalen Green is one of the most athletic guards in the league. Kevin Porter Jr. is incredibly shifty. He can get where he wants to whenever he wants to kind of get there. I remember when he was a free agent after he had that trouble. I think it was like a firearms issue. He got caught
Mm.
and then he got released. And I was a big proponent of being like the Celtics should get him because the talent is there, right? And there's a professional locker room that can help keep him on the straight and narrow. Now, obviously, Stephen Silas, the Rockets coach, has done a good job of kind of nurturing that talent. But the Celtics struggle whenever they're up against a team whose guards can dribble and penetrate and they're athletic and fast. And then you look at Jabari Smith Jr., who's just coming into his own down this stretch, 3-point shooting, rebounding machine. He did a really good job defending Tatum last night. And this is his first year. The dude's a rookie, bro. And like he held his own. And from what I remember, he held his own when he defended DeMar DeRozan, the previous game against Chicago as well. So it's not like Houston are scrubs, right? They're a talented team. They're just young and they're learning their way. And I don't know whether it's a mentality issue. Like this team's Celtics are coming into games thinking we got this because we're the Celtics. But I wrote about this for Celtics blog. It'll be out by the time this drops or shortly after. Like there's no identity. Like you don't know what this team is. Like what we jack. And I even wrote this. I was like, look, jacking up a bunch of threes is not an identity. It's a toxic personality trait. Like, oh, we don't care if they're falling, we're gonna shoot 43s. Why? Like your best success came when you was attacking the rim. Tatum got hot. Well, sorry, he got warm when he was getting down the hill and attacking the rim. And I get it, he missed that layup to end the game, but you know things happen. Brown is a mid-range guy. So why are we shooting 40-yard threes a game? I think there's a lot going on at the moment. I'm losing faith in Joe Mazzulla. I felt there was a stretch in the second quarter where they ran the exact same play 5 times. Just a variation of a chin action. So they ran a chin action, they scored. What did they do the next time down? They run a chin flare. What did they do the next time down? They run a UCLA. Then back to chin. Then to chin flare. And I'm like, dude, you're showing this team your entire hand. Like if you find success with an action, don't spam the shit out of it. You did it with Spain pick and rolls earlier in the year. Teams are going to adjust on the fly. And then when you need an action to get a bucket down the stretch, it's too late. You've ran it that much that they're anticipating it. They figured out how to defend it. If they'd only run that once or twice in the second, maybe they could have gone to it for that final play. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that and that to me is a confidence issue. I just don't think they're very confident right now. I don't think they know who they are as a team. And that's a big, big concern.
Especially as they go towards the playoffs, because that's sort of the time where you need to be able to put your stamp on the game. And I don't think that they've got any kind of calling card. You know, last year it was the physical brand of defense. That was that team's calling card. That's what their identity was. It's not even just like a matter of Jekyll and Hyde on any given night. It's been a long question coming. And a lot of people have said this over the season, but what happens and how does this team respond when the threes stop falling? And I don't think that there's a clear-cut answer to that. And that's the problem. It's not like, oh, well, if the threes aren't falling, we're going to go ahead and try and play this way. We're going to focus on ball movement. We're going to focus on off-ball movement. We're going to try and set some more screens, try and penetrate more, maybe try and work into the mid-range. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're not turning to it consistently. And then we've got guys trying to hit those, save the game shots. Like Marcus Smart chucked up a 3-pointer randomly last night, and it was like so ill-advised. And I'm just like sitting there saying, this guy earlier in the season was such an important integral part of the offense. And now because he's not at 100%, it's like the entire offense just seems out of whack. And I don't think that's on Smart like solely, but he was a guy who kind of helped keep things moving. And I think right now, like him personally, because he's dealing with these health issues, I think he's kind of reverted into those old habits of like, it's easier for me to go ahead and try and take this 3-pointer than it is for me to try and, get to the paint, get to the bucket. If you're like dealing with any kind of injury that's going to affect your movement. And I know that ankle's bothering him. I'm just wondering what else might be there. And you're looking at Grant Williams struggling the same too. Grant Williams looks incredibly indecisive. I know that his elbow's bothering him, but like, what are you doing, man? I've constantly praised Grant Williams for being like a high IQ basketball player, and then he just continues to do really stupid things. He had a play where he overhelped Sam Hauser, left his man wide open in the corner 3, and he recovered, but it was way too late. He overhelped for like no reason. Sam like wasn't getting burned or something like that. Like he was moving with his man out to the perimeter, and then Grant drifts over to try and help, and there was no need for it. Is that like a communication thing? Is that
Could be
on the players?
systematic.
Yeah, but at this point though, like you're damn near 70 games into the season. How do you not know what to do in that situation?
Was he helping or was he stunting?
I don't think he was
He was
stunting, or if he
helping,
did
though.
stunt, he went way too far.
It was like he was helping, and then he was like, "Oh snap! I got to get back to my man."
Yeah, exactly. It didn't
I
seem
don't
like
know
it
what
was
you
a
call that.
conscious like
Yeah,
it didn't look like a conscious decision to be like, okay, I'm gonna
it's,
go a little bit here and then get back over. It was like, oh crap, I left my man wide open in the corner. Oh, they're swinging the ball over that way because
yeah,
I left an unguarded shooter right in that corner pocket.
Smart did
yeah.
the exact same thing as well, a
Yeah,
couple of times, and I
it was
think Tatum did it
frustrating.
at times. And that to me, I don't know if you guys agree, but that feels like it's part of their scheme because there's no reason 3 or 4 guys that are all high IQ defenders continue to leave somebody wide open and
Yeah.
get burned unless they're being told that, hey, we want to add that additional layer of pressure. I just don't know, but I
I,
feel like they're really slow covering getting back out.
I can understand if you were trying to do that against a Donovan Mitchell
Yeah,
or a scorer, a person that's going to shoot. It's different when you're
Luca.
doing it. You know, it's a lot different when you're doing it against a Giannis because you're not expecting him to take that three. So the moment he sees that you get to that double team, you're hoping that pass doesn't get through to the next player and they hit that shot. But everybody's not Giannis. A lot of NBA players can hit the 3-point shot. Like, so you don't want to leave these players wide open. And that's the one thing that is confusing me about the Celtics defense. Why are there too many wide open shots? And then when we get our wide open shots, obviously we can't hit them, right? It's just it comes down, it's just one of those nights. I think my issue is you kept saying that we need to find our identity. I think our identity is to shoot 3-point shot. I think that's what the identity is. Like it's to shoot the three because when they fall, we're blowing teams out. But the question is, how do you adjust when they're not falling? And they had the answer last night, guys. They figured it out. They started driving to the paint. Raise your hand if you ever in your entire life agree with the take from Kendrick Perkins. Last night, I was agreeing with him. He specifically said they just need to go to the paint. They can't stop them. You see what I mean? It keeps every time we went to the paint, we either drew a foul or made a layup. And some of them layups were hard, but they still went to the paint. They got themselves back into the game. The moment they got back into the game, what did they revert back to? Their
What was easy?
identity.
Yeah,
But you see, the identity, in my opinion, is the identity should be what you fall back on when everything else is failing, right? Like, so last year under Udoka, it was defense. So when
can
the
always lean
offense
on your
wasn't
defense. Yeah.
there, you fall back and you're still you're the best defensive team in the league. Don't matter how shit you're shooting that night, no one's scoring on you enough to beat you. And that's why I said, like, the amount of threes they're taking shouldn't be an identity. It's a toxic trait. It's what
I agree.
it's
You
that
live by the
personality
three.
trait that gives
You
people the ick,
You
right?
live by the three or you die by the three. I know it's cliche. Like I said, you make your threes, you blow a team out. It's hard for teams to come back, especially if they don't shoot as well as you. But there's times where you're going to miss. And when I say you, I mean all the players are missing. Everybody's missing. Sam Hauser can't hit a three wide open. That's bad. And so I'm saying I'm not saying that's their identity. That should be their identity. But from the way I'm seeing it from my
That's what it
perspective,
is for sure.
that's what it is. And so why can't they get back to the defensive minded? It has to come down to the coaching. Mazzulla's not a defensive minded coach. What if the absence of Damon Stoudemire, it was critical last night? What if that was it? We don't know. It's crazy. Like, how are they not playing defense? They are a great defensive team, and they can't even figure out how to be that defensive minded team that they used to be. And they're the same players. Who are we missing from last year? Really? Except for Rob Williams. Who
I mean,
else?
they traded Tice too,
Yeah,
but that
no,
was
that's
part
the
of the.
thing.
But again, yeah, like the big piece is Rob. But for what it's worth, I feel like the biggest thing that this team is doing that last year's team was like really good at was just that defense and consistently like they were starting really switch heavy, right? I feel like the beginning of the season they were switching a lot. And then there was a point where they were over helping a lot as well. And like they were switching for like no reason. And now we're at a point where I really don't know what the defensive identity of this team is because it's never consistent. And that's kind of what it's come down to. I think the identity of this team is consistently inconsistent. You don't get consistency from three. You don't get consistent ball movement. Jason Tatum's coming out and saying, yeah, I started the game off low energy. You can't be low energy as the main guy. They've consistently said, as I say consistently once more, the Jays are the guys who set the tone for this team. If they don't come out correct and they don't come out with the right energy right off the jump, it's a wash. They're screwed for the rest of the game. And you could tell with this Houston team, that's a team that you should go out and beat. I know that they're young, they're athletic, they've got a good squad as they're coming up, but they had 15 wins for a freaking reason. And they've got 16 because you didn't defend, you shot poorly. And then for the one moment that you actually adjusted and did everything that you were supposed to do, like get to the paint, cut, move the ball, like Wayne said, like they were chipping into that lead and they looked good, and then they immediately turn away from what's working. And I think that's what gets most frustrating for me is like this is a team that knows how to win and they know how to win in that way. Like they know specifically how they are going to get that. And then they just proceed to not do it. And
Because
I just
Mazzulla
wonder,
doesn't know how to implement it. That's not his coaching style. He wants offense. Do you
Mm,
know what blows my freaking mind? I mean, really blows it. And Wayne touched on this. It's like every time there's a bad shooting night, everybody is cold. Now, logically, it should be one or two guys are cold, and there's a couple of guys that can still get their shots. But for some reason, it's like, yo, Jason Tatum's missing his threes. Everybody is
Bro,
missing their
it's
threes.
like they all catch COVID, bro. Like COVID of shooting. Like, oh man, I can't hit a shot. You know what? I can't hit it. I can't hit it. What do you mean? I never thought I'd say I'd miss Peyton Pritchard, but unfortunately he's hurt. Maybe he was a spark we could have used, but he can't play right now.
And he wasn't getting enough minutes to have
Yeah.
any rhythm to score anyway.
exactly.
Hey,
Yeah.
Peyton, you haven't played in like 12 years. Go and pull up 10 threes. Hopefully they'll
Oh,
hit.
yeah.
Like, and then you know that it's like bad because Mazzulla just hasn't got a clue about his big man rotation. One time, you'll see Cornet out there, then you'll see Muscala out there, then you'll see Blake Griffin out there. You're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And people that are like, hey, yeah, we're missing Rob. When Rob comes back, it's all going to be a bit of bullshit because this team was blowing teams out of the water to start the season with no Rob. Their best stretch of the season came before Rob got put back into the rotation. That's when Mazzulla started trying to play that double big, but keep that ball movement from having more ball handlers on the floor. And I just feel like he hasn't settled on what's best for him yet. He hasn't decided. Like, do you even know what coach you want to be? Like, what's your calling card? Because it was very clear at the start of the season. Right now, it's just like, dude, you don't know what Celtics you're getting on a night-to-night basis, and that's just with 13 games left. That's appalling.
That's what I said. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
that
13,
many.
yeah.
13. My bad. I think I said like 16 earlier. 15.
No, you were like 14 or 15 or something like
Yeah,
that.
you were right around there. I only
Either
know
way,
because I counted
it's
like an hour
bad.
ago.
There's not that many games left to try and make an adjustment.
So you said it, guys. It starts with the coach. And so like the coach has to figure out his identity in order for the players to figure out their identity, or you're going to end up looking like the Lakers with a LeBron James, a coach who just there and a J. You know what I'm trying to say? And we don't want that. I
Darvin
don't want
Ham's
that.
catching strays for no reason, man. I like
He
Darvin
coaches the
Ham.
Lakers. That's a reason, dude. You can't like Darvin Ham. He's the enemy.
I liked him a lot. I wish that he didn't coach the
Did I
Lakers.
start something here on Vitamin C's? My bad. All I'm saying is I'm thinking past Lakers coaches when LeBron was literally like the coach and making the
Vogel.
decisions and things like that. That's what I
The
meant.
GM.
Yeah. And so you
GM.
don't want that with Jason Tatum. You want that young kid to play his best effing ball every freaking night. You want Jaylen Brown to play his best freaking ball every night. You want the GM, and you want the coach, the freaking coach. And if Marcus Smart is a better player's coach, then he has to be a better leader. And I feel like that's what we're missing. Like he's doing dumb passes, creating crazy turnovers. And it's just like, dude, we just went on a run and you just gave the ball back and they hit a wide open three because you're not back on defense. That's when you take the threes, when there's numbers and ain't nobody to defend you in your face. If you miss, you miss. It's just hard. It's hard. And you know what we do? We watch every single game, every single second, and we hope that it's going to be different. And again, It's different for every team. I guarantee you, they play a team that's contesting, a team that's playing for something. The Celtics put on the big boy shorts and they play basketball. But when they're playing a team that's inferior to them, that they feel like they can go out there and play lackadaisical. I don't care if it was 5 in the afternoon or whatever Houston time is. Yesterday it was a little bit early than 7:30. I think it was 5:30 in the afternoon. I think they're 2 hour difference, right? Who cares? They need to go out there and put their big boy pants on every single night. Every single night.
Before we continue that, I just want to take a pause for our advertiser. Massachusetts, listen up. The wait is over. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is now live in Massachusetts, and new customers in Mass can get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. Finally, you can bet on all your favorite sports teams, from the money line to point spreads to player props and more. For me personally, I'm not much of a game-to-game guy. However, I am looking at the Celtics and the Bruins to go to the distance, so I put myself a nice little parlay on both those teams, and here's hoping that hits. So, bet now on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make every moment more on America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in MA. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued on non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Interesting thing that I want to bring to you guys, because I think this ties into a larger conversation, because I know that Jaylen Brown's come out and talked about the three-pointers. I know Jason Tatum's talked about the three-pointers. And overall, like their approach from offense. We've talked about Joe Mazzulla being focused on three-pointers and that being like basically the fulcrum of their offense. And that's why when they're not
personality trait, I'm sticking with it for the
I
rest
tend
of
to
the
agree
year.
with that, but in terms of physical terms, I'm going to say it's a fulcrum, because without it, the whole thing just falls apart. Is there like a difference in ideologies between Joe Mazzulla and the players for them to say that, hey, I think we're taking too many threes, or we took a lot of threes, man, like we took a lot, and to seem to not, I don't know, is there something there? Like, is there a difference in ideology in how this team is attacking on offense? And maybe that's where there is this broad disconnect, because I feel like the offensive consistency that we saw earlier in the season is just completely gone out the window.
Well, let me just start with this. A lot of these guys, in fact, any player that's been on the Celtics since they were drafted, which is a large portion of their roster, have played under two defensive-minded coaches. Brad Stevens was a defense-first coach. Ime Udoka is a defense-first coach. This is the first time they've played under a coach that's put so much stock in being an offensive powerhouse over being a defensively sound rotation. And there's probably going to be a little bit of, well, we've had a lot of success in our careers by playing defense first basketball. You're talking to guys, especially Jason and Jalen, and Horford's been there for most of them as well. You're talking to guys that have gone to multiple conference finals, to an NBA finals, all on the back of a sound defensive structure. To then ask them to start, and then their offense has always been balanced. Udoka liked to run a lot of inside out actions. There was a lot of ram actions and stuff that made sure guys were getting post touches. They were attacking off screens and openings. Stevens was super creative X's and O's wise. I think Mazzulla is really lacking with his time at ATOs. I think they're poor, like really poor. Or not poor, they're just basic, right? They're like going to KFC and ordering mash with no gravy. It's just basic, dude.
No flavor.
Yeah, just bland, right? I think that's a big issue. I don't know whether that's I don't know if it's the players are going to be pushing back on that a little bit. I don't know. I'm not there. But what I would say is that a lot of these guys are going to been around for a lot of success, and they've all been defense first. And at the moment, it feels like it's offense first. So if they're starting to say we're shooting too much, then maybe they are. Because guess what? Every time you miss a shot, now it's a transition opportunity. Now you're defending on the break. What are the Celtics' weakest at defensively? Defending the fast break. And the way you try and limit that is to take higher quality shots. And that means if the shots aren't falling, You do what you did in that game against Houston and attack the rim, but you don't try and then defer back to, what was there a timeout? And Mazzulla's like, yo, you're not shooting in a freeze. What you want about, dude? We've just killed a 10-point deficit. We're back up. We're down by 1. No, we're not shooting freeze because it's working. I don't know, but I'm very big on at the minute. This entire Celtics team is built on defense, and they're not playing defense. You had a team with Marcus Smart in the rotation last night that got out hustled. That should never happen.
Yeah, maybe they're. I don't know. Here's my theory. Maybe they're just trying things out. I mean, we're gonna finish the season with a pretty good seeding, and maybe they're just trying to figure out their rotations for the playoffs. And then maybe when the playoffs happen, the Celtics take a power pellet and then they turn on their defense again, because the defense will get better in the playoffs. And then it might not revert to all the shooting. Listen, we're a 3-point shooting team. I thought we were the top 3-point shooting team in the league, and Mazzulla's going to look to take 30 plus 3-point attempts every single night. And we're just a top shooting team, and so with that, we have to continue to shoot. It's almost like practicing, even though it's a game time. You want to continue to shoot. You want that muscle memory to continue to go, but I think the issue is my only issue with Mazzulla is adjusting, and that's what scares me. It's not the players, it's not the mentality. It's him being able to adjust on the fly, and I don't know if he's capable of that yet, because he's such a young new head coach in the NBA. And I keep telling you, I don't want to see certain teams. And we talked about physicality, but we rarely talk about the coaching matchups. I don't want to see Spoelstra from Miami. I don't want to see Nick Nurse. I don't want to see those coaches that have been there and done that. It was different with Udoka, because we knew the team's identity. We're going to play defense and create buckets in transition and get points. Like, that's what we knew we were going to do. This year it's different, like you said. So I'm hoping, my theory is they're just out there just trying to get by and finish off the season strong. I think they go on a good stretch, the last stretch at home. They finish off strong, and then it's playoff time come April, May. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think, Tim?
I mean, so I was just pulling up the stats because I just wanted to have a look to keep it in perspective. Wayne, talking about 3-pointers, in terms of attempts per game, the Celtics are averaging the second most, only behind the Warriors. They're averaging 43.6, so almost 44 attempts a game.
That's way more than 30. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's just it helps keep it in context because of how crazy they've been from 3 in terms of attempts.
We don't have a Klay Thompson and a Steph Curry.
They're still 4th right now. They're still 4th in 3-point percentage. So 4th amongst the league. They're shooting 39.4%.
Yeah, but a large part of that's Brogdon and Horford. Like Tatum,
and that's the other thing too, yeah.
I feel like Tatum's miscast as this 3-point guy. Like, Tatum is a guy that is an elite scorer, but he needs to be in rhythm, and he gets his rhythm by attacking the basket, working that high post, putting him in pinch post actions, feeding JB in the mid-range. That's what gets these two guys going. 3-point shots are part of their arsenal, but they're not specialists. That's not the type of players they are. They're complete scoring wings, and you're taking away, in part, some of their main weapons, and I just don't get it. If you want people to just run around and jack up threes, go keep Sam Hauser, go get yourself a Duncan Robinson and hope that he figures it out. Go and get yourself a Max Strus, and and then you can play that jack up threes all day long and don't worry about defense. But when you've got 2 wings that can score on 3 levels, why you're jacking up that many threes is beyond me.
Well, and I think it's also with Jason Tatum. He can get to the basket. And you saw him he went 4 for 4 from the line, but at least Jaylen Brown was 7 of 8 from the line. So he was a little bit more aggressive when getting to the cup. And it felt like Jaylen was getting all of these shots and taking all of these buckets, and he had a great performance. But it feels like whenever he has a big night, it's because everyone else is just playing terrible and they need to go to the hot hand, so they defer to him, which felt weird when they didn't go to him down the stretch for that final shot. It felt kind of weird because I was like, he's been there, he's been playing well, and I don't know. I felt like you should have gone with the hot hand, especially because Tatum was having a really rough night.
And do you ever feel like Brown's games, his high scoring games, come against what the offense is doing. Like while everyone else is jacking threes, Brown's cutting into the paint, getting the ball and shooting middies. Like he's like, no, this works. I'm doing this.
Can I
Do you
can
know?
I ask you guys a legit question? Because I have some friends, they're diehard Celtic fans, right? And so one of my friends, he's just shitting on Jaylen Brown every single night. Oh, he's the worst player. I mean, granted, Jaylen Brown can't dribble. I'm sorry, I don't know what he's doing or
His
what he's
handles are
thinking.
rough. I agree.
His handles are bad. But do you guys see that the last game, Jaylen Brown was just taking, like, just being like a bad player? Because I didn't get that. I mean, I'm not saying he carried the team on his back, but he literally carried the team on his back. He had 43 points. I mean, like does he pass the ball all the time? No. Is he getting better at playmaking? Yes. But when the team was struggling, he put the damn team on his back to try to keep the team in the game by attacking the basket. Like, and yes, he did miss a free throw toward the end, like not the end, but toward the end of the game, which could have changed the score just a little bit. When he had those three, he got fouled as a 3-point shot, and he missed he made 2 of the 3. But I don't get why he's getting such this bad rep, Jaylen Brown. He's a high ISO guy, but I don't see him being such a bad rep. What are your thoughts on Jaylen Brown? And then hopefully that touches into what Adam was just talking about.
I think he's efficient. I think he's one of the more efficient players. I mean, 16 to 25 against Houston, 4 of 10 from 3. So that's a lot of attempts. But again, this team was chucking threes, and Tatum was 2 of 10 from the night. So, like, 2 of your best players going 6 of 20 from 3. Not great, but at least he shot 40%. I still think that's a lot. But he was also taking a lot because, again, everybody else was struggling. But 7 of 8 from the line, I'll take 7 out of 8 every night. If that's what he averaged or what Tatum averaged, that's good. It means that you're attacking the basket, you're getting fouls. Maybe you're making some of those for some and ones, but it means that you're actually pressuring the rim because right now they're settling into these 3-pointers. And I don't think that was on him against Houston. Overall, like, the team was just not hitting threes. March overall has been really, really rough. For the month of March, I just pulled up the stats. They are still third in attempts with 43 attempts a game, but they're 12th in percentage. So 37.2%, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't feel terrible. But when you're taking that many threes, it kind of is a problem because that is really it feels more and more like that's where all of their offense is dictated from. And I agree with what you were saying, Adam. Like, for Jalen and Jason, like, those guys are able to penetrate. They're two of your best, like, pressure guys, if that makes sense. Like, the best at getting pressure on the rim, attacking the paint, finishing through contact, and they're just not doing it because they're settling for threes, because that's what they're being told to do. Well, we've got to go ahead and get 40 attempts up. Like, doesn't matter where they're coming from. Doesn't matter if, like, we just brought the ball up. I'm going to go ahead and step into a 3. There's a couple that Tatum did last night. And when that works, it works. Like, he did that against Portland, and he was draining threes like crazy. But, when he's cold, he's cold. And I just feel like he personally needs to be able to change gears and get to the paint, get to the free throw line, because he's one of the best players to do that on this roster. And he's not the only guy who needs to do that. But, like, again, it starts with him. It starts with the Jays.
I've caught heat for saying this on a million different occasions, but I'm going to say it again.
Is it Jay
Jaylen-
being a finisher?
Yeah. Jaylen Brown is one of the best play finishers in the league. And what I mean by that is you have him, if he's cutting off ball and you feed him the rock in the lane, he's going to finish and he's going to convert. If he's backing someone down in the post or he's sealing a guy and you hit him with a high-low pass, he's going to finish. He's the guy you put the ball in his hands to finish an offensive possession. He's one of the best play finishers. When it comes to creating, he's improving a lot. His dribble is just not there, especially at speed. But he's among the best play finishers in the NBA. He can he gets buckets. If it's a fast break, he can finish. He can penetrate. He can rip through. He's just a bucket. Asking him to play outside of that and be more than that, well, that's developing and it's going to eventually get there. But right now, if you're looking for wins, the role he played against Houston, where he was just, we're going to give him the ball because he's a bucket, that's the best role for him. And that doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's exceptional, but that role is where he thrives. And so I can see why some people get frustrated because they're like, oh, we're going to probably have to pay him a max contract. If he gets all NBA, it's going to be a super max guy. He can't really create for others. No, but I don't get it.
Why do we care? Why does anybody care if he gets paid super max money?
Who are you going to give the money to?
At the end of the day, though, if tickets go up $5 a ticket, who the fuck cares? Like, you're still going to go pay the $5 extra for the ticket. What is the problem? Let him get his money, but let him do his basketball. Let him play his style of basketball. I'm so happy you brought that up because the last play of the game, it was Jason Tatum driving to the bucket against Houston, which I'm cool with, but I just have this funny feeling Jaylen Brown would have finished that or at least drew the contact to get to get a foul call. Or whatnot. Now you also have to factor in he might have turned the ball over, That's what he does.
I mean, everyone's all right when Marcus Smart makes a boneheaded play. They're like, yo, it's the Marcus Smart experience.
That's what I don't understand. But the moment Jaylen Brown does it, oh man, he's just he's so terrible. No, he's not. He's really not. How can you tell me a person that scored 43 points had a bad game or played bad? It doesn't make any sense.
Is there anyone saying that he was playing bad?
And you can be like, I mean, it's just if you said to me, Adam, he scored 43 points, but he was terrible on defense, and I'd seen that, and I agreed. I'd be like, yeah, it was an average game because for every 2 or 3 you scored, you gave up 2 or 3 on the defense.
But he wasn't terrible on defense.
No, he wasn't. That's the point.
He just turned the ball over. Listen, go back and watch his possessions. His dribble. I think Jaylen Brown, and I think Tim and I touched up on this, Adam, that the issue with Jaylen Brown is he's so in his head. He's faster. Like he's already making the play before he's making the play. It's like a wide receiver. The quarterback throws him the ball, but before the wide receiver even catches it, he's taking off running. It's the same thing with Jaylen Brown. He gets that ball in his head and he's getting to the basket. Before he forgets, he's got to continue like the dribble. And next thing you know, they're poking their hand in and they're knocking it out. And sometimes he's getting it back or whatever, whatnot, and they reset. But that's his issue. He's a fast player and he has to have his mental and his physical has to meet somewhere in the middle. Once he gets that, shit. Like Jaylen Brown, I'm not going to say what I was thinking about saying, but Jaylen Brown, he's that impact. I think he's more of an impact of a player than Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum is the best player in the team, but I think Brown's impact is different. I think it's just different. It's just different on a level.
What I will say is we've been saying that about his dribble for about 5 years.
Yeah, so it's not going
to change.
It's not going to get better. There's no way it's going to change.
And that's the thing, right? I remember saying this 3 or 4 seasons ago, like, yo, when Jaylen Brown tightens up that handle, watch out. 3 or 4 years later, what are we saying? When Jaylen Brown tightens up that handle, watch out. I mean, it still could. It still could. Like, he's just entered his prime. Like, there's still time. But I feel like this is what you see with JB is what you get. I feel like Tatum's probably another year away or 2 years away, and then we'll say exactly the same thing about Jason. What you see in 2 years from Jason is the best version of Jason because he's going to be 27 then.
Okay. Yeah, truly in his prime.
Yeah,
I think for Jaylen, it's just a matter of, I think, like what Wayne said, just catching the speed up. Because I think body-wise, like he wants to move at a certain speed. And he had this problem when he was like really, like when he first came into the league, where he was just like moving so fast. And he's had moments where the game is slowed down enough for him to know exactly what to do in a given moment. But sometimes he'll go into a play or he'll go into a drive and not know where he's going next. Like, if he goes to the rim and all of a sudden he's meeting someone there, he doesn't know what he's doing with the ball next, which means he's throwing it out to hopefully find someone on the perimeter, but that's not always the case. I don't think this was one of those games for him. Defensively, he's always had the issue of playing off ball, falling asleep off ball. So that's something that when he's locked in, and it helps when the rest of the team around him is locked in. And I don't think that they were against the Houston team that they should have beat. And I think that's kind of what it waters down to. I don't really know what else to expect from the Celtics at this point. I would like to see some wins. Going into this final stretch of the season, I'm wondering if it's, better off just trying to steal a couple games, try and stay in second, not worry about first seed, prioritize health, rest, guys like Marcus, Grant, and just try and get through. Just get through and get healthy and just figure it out. I think the rotations need to get tightened up, but I don't know if that's something that's going to get done now or if Joe's trying to, kind of protect his hand before he gets to the playoffs, not trying to reveal too much. But besides that, is there anything else that you guys have to add today? All righty. Well, other than that, we're going to wrap it up today. Thank you guys again for everyone who joined in for Vitamin C's. If you've made it this far, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you guys want for content. And as well, just to remind everyone, we are a member of the CLNS Media Network, and we are proudly sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of CLNS. Other than that, take care, everybody. Cheers. Stay safe.
Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston and get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet.